Go, Nathan.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that because I think that is the break. If we're not speaking the same language, where can we go, right? So there's a man, of blessed memory, a man named Lord Jonathan Sachs. He was the chief rabbi of England. He had a great line. He really defined anti-Semitism. That anti-Semitism is Jews have no right to exist collectively as Jews with the same rights as other human beings. Which is kind of a weird statement. So let's just track back a bit to understand the history of anti-Semitism. 2,000 years ago, Jews don't accept Jesus as Messiah. For people who do not have faith, as the early Christians, as some of them have faith, some of them accept Jesus, but they don't really in their heart. And you and I both know people like Rob McCoy who accepts it fully in their heart.
Isn't he defying the fundamental definition of what it is to be a Christian there?
Oh, he's doing what a baller does, isn't he? Like, what's gravity? Let me take you back to one of the great British rabbis that said, well, it's a little like the persecution of the Jews and not having... What are you on about, man? Just define the word. I don't need some British rabbi from the 1800s to define what anti-Semitic... This should be a dictionary definition that you just simply and concisely go to so that we can move on. Because it's just a definition after all, isn't it? Or is it a special kind of definition?
Now it's a story.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why and Adam argued with me when I said she should just put up 10 different definitions.
Well, she's waiting for him. I thought that she was waiting for him to hang himself.
No,
I wouldn't have given him any room.
Right now, I'm saying a man that's going to discuss anti-Semitism, when given the first opportunity to define it, he tells you how important it is to define it, and then goes on to obfuscate around defining it. Great parallel to ballers.
He defined it.
You hear more.
Yeah, but he defined it just a little bit ago, but it was a short definition. It didn't really, it sounded like a tautology to me, but it was so short, he went then into his story.
Not allowing Jews to be Jews or something like that, wasn't it? In a special kind of Jewy way.
Other people who are doing it without faith. And they're those who have less faith. The fact that a Jew exists, let alone thrives, is a threat to their faith, because how can the Jew not accept Jesus as God and still thrive? Unless he's associated with the devil. So you start having these...
Straw man. No Christian should take that. It's a total straw man to Christians that the reason that we're anti-Semitic is because Christians look at Jews and go, well, how the aren't you just following Christ, you idiots? What a terrible straw man to paint in the definition of anti-Semitism. Because, like, it's only Christians that are anti-Semitic. Maybe not.
Right.
Especially real Christians who know that the Jew has to be here.
Can't we just define it as like burning a Jew on the lawn or something? Just something simple.
These myths that are created of the Jew being identified with the opposite of God. This really codifies in 1144 in Norwich, England, what's called the bloodline. This is really important to understand, especially today in 2024. In 1144, a young boy is killed, and the local priest says that's because the Jews need to make their matzah with Christian blood. It's called the bloodline. Let's blame the problems of other people on the Jew. It's just so you know, that's so ridiculous, not only just on its face, but we're forbidden from even having meat that has any blood in it.
Hold on. Stop. Is he now strawmanning this to the point that anti-Semitism in its most fundamental form is born out of Christology?
Well, it sounded like to me.
I don't know if that's what he's going for, but it's stupid if you read scripture. It's
nothing like that.
Why are we covering this again, Brian? Why are we covering this again?
Because of because he's such a baller. Because he's using tactics he's only getting warmed up, lads. He's using baller tactics that baller tactics. I don't know what else to say to you. It's just listen.
Torah law, you can't have. That's why we can't have steak tartare. Okay, so this gets perpetuated.
Yeah, that's why we
Did he
can't have
say
steak
we can't have
tartare.
steak tartare? Did he say that? Did
Yeah,
he
he said that's
actually
why
say
we
that?
can't have steak tartare.
Jesus.
Yeah. Those are the blood.
In
Oh, boy.
combination with a 4th century, what's called the Vulgate.
I'm sorry, did you say in 1140 this happened?
1144 in Norwich, England.
Okay.
Okay, this is after in the
Pronounced Norwich.
4th century, you have something called the Vulgate. The Vulgate is the official translation of the Bible. In Hebrew, there's no vowels, and the person who translates Saint Jerome, who translates the Vulgate, knows what he's doing is translating wrong. He puts down that when Moses comes down from Mount Sinai, he has horns. Okay, Karen, when actually the word was karan, meaning that light shone from his head. So now, by 1144, you have the anti-Semitic myth of Jews have horns and they drink blood. And I know people who've been asked when they went into the army and other places, "Can I see your horns?" So this still exists today in 2024 throughout America.
Stop.
First I heard of it.
Same
So
here.
now Christians think that Jews are vampires. And what was that bit about the Vulgate? Right. What are you on about? What was that about? You mean the
I don't
Latin
know.
version of the Bible? What did
That's
it say?
correct.
If you just say, and if we read it in the Latin, it says this. Yeah. It sounds like the Vulgate. He's preaching to the uninformed, isn't he? And trying to be pseudo-intellectual.
Yes.
Very good, Brian. Very good, this.
Yep.
Yeah, but Adam, my parents had a statue of Moses, and he did have horns. It was a bottle of liquor, but it was Moses with horns.
That's symbolic, isn't it? Yeah. And that, I think that is technically, what do you call it? Renaissance symbology.
Yeah, I
It's
don't really buy
Renaissance.
that. That seems very spiritual to me, Neil.
What was in it, Neil? Sambuca.
Mad Dog 2020.
Oh, I used to love that as a teenager.
Me too.
Scotch. It was scotch. My
Oh,
uncle, my uncle owned a liquor store, and it was scotch. But it with the horn, it was really his hair, but it looked like he had horns. I used to turn the thing around because it would stare at you. Scared the shit out of me.
They all horns, Neil.
what is it about 2020 that's so appealing when you're 14?
Pretty flavours.
It is the pretty flavours, isn't it? It existed in a world before WKD and Alco Pops existed. So when we were a teenager, Alco Pops was MD 2020, right?
But as a kid, alcohol tastes like shit. It's horrible. So if you can have something that's like kiwi and strawberry flavoured, it still means you fall over at the park. Brilliant. If it's tasting
It's
like
biology. Kids and even then, obviously, young teenagers, they crave sugar more than people as they get older. As you get older, you crave less sugar. You probably reach a plateau or whatever. But when you're younger, that's why kids love sugar.
I never
they
liked
crave it.
sugar. That's a stereotype fallacy. I never liked it.
That's always been what's wrong with you then.
Okay, let's crack on with this a bit more.
when we were
Happening
kids.
just in a little
We
rural area.
went
We're
to a place,
reminiscing. Okay.
right? Yeah. Talking about sugar craving, man. I think it was about the time of Miami Vice was going off. So we're like probably 13, 14, and we're looking at all this Coke stuff that's going off, and we're like, A, we can't get Coke, but B, what's all this snorting stuff? So we got, you'll know what these are, refreshers, Nathan, yeah? The sweet, crushed refreshers, which are like a sweet, glucosey, sugary tablet, but crushed them, then snorted refreshers. You get
What
a really glucosey
the-
drip down the back of your throat, but you don't get high.
What the fuck, dude?
Matt Sherbet.
Right, sugar highs.
That's where you got your sugar high.
Let's play.
We crack on.
I think we best.
I've never tried to turn it into crack.
It exists today, these myths. That Vulgate Bible is the official Catholic Bible all the way through the 1970s. So it is, you need to understand that that's a piece of it, okay?
That's your pseudo intellectual. That what the word, that Latin Bible, you're not really telling me anything, are you?
No.
You mean the one the Roman Catholics use? The Latin version? Really?
Yep.
Not so profound now, is it? I just swap that word.
That they're equated with this kind of hate. Because it's about Jews not having the right to exist collectively, when they live in their little communities in the Middle Ages, anti-Semitism is a hate against their religion. By the time you get to the 18th and 20th centuries, when so many Jews have assimilated, they are in culture, they are in arts, they're in science, it's no longer against them for their religion, it's against them for their race. Because anti-Semitism is the oldest hate in the world, and the hate that mutates. In 1948, because remember, it says Lord Sachs.
Oh, I just want to pause it. You said it's a hate that mutates.
Correct.
So your belief then is that the definition of anti-Semitism can necessarily change. Is that correct?
It's not just my belief. It is the commonly accepted understanding in both the Jewish and academic worlds.
Okay.
This isn't, okay?
I mean, so far he's been asked to define it. I'm struggling if have we met the criteria yet for it being defined? If it's fluid, this seems like a silly conversation. I mean, am I missing something?
We've now got the mitigation. Candace has called him, hasn't she? So as I jokingly said, the special kind of hate, we've got to the point of why it's a special kind of hate, is it's a hate whose definition mutates. They're the admissions that he's given. Yeah, it's been long-winded. That's the reality of what he's claimed so far. It's a special kind of hate, and it's a hate that can mutate. What else can do that? It's a special kind of force, and it can change type of force of it being very good analogies, Brian. I'm liking it.
I'm going to go with what is gravity for 200, Adam?
Yeah, there you go.
As I said, that's why I
This is what I'm
quoted this.
saying. Oh no, this is what I'm saying. This guy is a baller, out and out. Go on, sorry, Nate.
Quote, it's a great thing from Lord Sachs, Jonathan Sachs. It's a great thing from Nihilecka. This is just accepted as the understanding of, a cultural anthropologist.
So I would just say off the bat, I do not accept that definitions can just mutate. That is something that I could debate that on, like the definition of a woman. I mean, and I'm saying not just about Jewish people. I think that we have to have a concrete definition to work with, because then you can just update and say, actually, I
mean, that does happen, though. As much as she might object to that, the definitions of words do subtly change throughout time, right? And to invoke prior definitions is an etymological fallacy, is it not? So you wouldn't have such a thing as an etymological fallacy if the definitions didn't subtly alter with time. But how we agree on what things can be defined as is what the dictionary will take for their updates when they change subtly the definitions of words.
Yeah, but that sort of change would then imply with respect to who is classified as a Jew, not the anti-Semitic part, the anti part. That anti-behaviour should be assumed to be the same, surely. Anti-black, anti-ginger. Very anti-ginger behaviour. What does that mean? Well, we beat the ginger, get up. Yeah? Well, we understand what that is. That's not what's being defined here. That not redefining what a Jew can be. It's redefining what an assault on a Jew can be in the parameters. So it's not just beating the ginger up. It's recognising that he's got ginger hair or whatever. Change over time.
Yeah, but what he's saying is that it can be whatever I need it to be when I need it to be that thing. And the same for every other Jewish person. That's what he's actually saying. It's a fluid definition. In other words, he can call anything anti-Semitic. He can rip you off of money and you complain about it, and he can call that anti-Semitic. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's basically saying. But he ripped you off of money. Yet you complaining about it or doing something about it is anti-Semitic. According to him, he can make it into anything he wants because it's a special kind of hate.
Changed that, and now this is what constitutes
Candace?
anti-Semitism.
But Candace, that is the horror of anti-Semitism. So what you are saying to me is that anti-Semitism is this and does not change. What I am saying to you is that the entire world and scholars about anti-Semitism recognize that it is a unique hate.
What is it? What is it to be Semitic? Is that the right word?
Semitic.
To be Jewish.
Well, yeah. You could address that point that term Semitic would be racial, in that it would be those of Palestinian landmass origin, Semitic race. So therefore, as opposed to where you've got Ashkenazi Jews and then Sephardic Jews. Your Sephardics would, I suppose, be the Semitic race in terms of genetics, whereas your Ashkenazi, which are from Georgia area, would be of a different genetic race, but they would still be classed the same race from a Jewish theological point of view. The point Whoopi Goldberg
So it'd be to be against those people would be to be anti-Semitic then.
This is the point. What are you invoking here? With the term Semitic, in of itself, because of the origins of Jewish people present day, there's the two big sects of Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. Sephardic being the ones that would, I suppose, be classed as Semitic in that kind of genetic origin. This is my best understanding.
You got to understand what it is to understand what it is to be anti it, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. In and of itself, anti-Semitic isn't necessarily, because you can have Muslim Arabs that are Semitic, can't you? They're from that same lineage. It's not in and of itself Semitic. It's not a descriptor for the overall thing if you use the term Semitic in its historical context.
Define it as that Jews should not be able to exist collectively. Okay, as a collective, they shouldn't have that right. That changes from the Middle Ages with religion, the 18th through 20th centuries about race, and then after Israel's created, it's a hatred based on the nation. And until that is understood, that it is, this isn't something that's really questioned about among academics, theologians.
That would be anti-Israeli, not anti-Semitic.
That's an equivocation, honestly. So to pretend that the historical issues with regards to Jews as portrayed in European and Middle Eastern history has got anything to do with the criticism of the state of Israel and any therefore repainting of that criticism as anti-Semitic when you're discussing the actions of a state as opposed to actions of certain sections of society, that's very different. So the way in which Shakespeare and lots of others portray criticism of the Jews, they're talking about very specific individual actions of individuals within society. This is separate criticism. Really isn't that direct towards individuals and their actions. It's directed towards the actions of a state. And if you're a bit politically savvy, you reckon, as the state of Israel will mitigate for with the Hamas, this state is made up of other people, Christians and Muslims, and secular people in the state of Israel. Holding Israel to account, this is where I say it's an equivocation fallacy, is false, or calling them out there.
Well, it's like talking about racism against black people, let's say against Candace Owens, and then she's stating that, well, if you're anti-American, you're anti-black people, because poor people, African Americans live in America. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of a thing. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to extrapolate it out into something bigger, where anything said against Israel, the state of Israel, and their foreign policies or any other political policies or whatever they have, is then becoming anti-Semitic. It's like, no, I can criticize America. That doesn't make me a racist against the black people of America. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a thing.
Jewish scholars. I'm not presenting it. This is why I thought I'm so optimistic about a dialogue. But I think part of it is you view that the hate can't mutate. And what I'm trying to tell you is that we have 2,000 years of history that demonstrate the exact opposite.
So, and I'm going to just push back just gently here. For me personally, if I thought that racism could just be an ever-shifting definition based on the experience of Black people, it would be a remarkable power, and I would be able to create something like BLM, which could say that everything was racist. So I am not going to be able to agree that definition should be able to transform according to what's happening during the day. But here's what I will say. If you could, just because I think it's really important for us to get to going through this article, because then you might be able to explain why you view it as anti-Semitism. If you could just give us what you are saying the current definition of anti-Semitism is today.
It's essentially the second time she's asked the same question, is it not?
Yeah, but she's kicked him in the nuts before asking it. All right?
Yeah.
And now he's got to... Yeah, she's already told him, you're a dick. You can't change definitions. Because if as a black person, I want to abuse it, look at what's happened over the past 5 years with people re-abusing it. Yeah. It's very clever. Do you like her, Nathan?
Yeah. As I said before we started broadcasting, yeah, I really like her. I don't know who she is. I've never seen her before. But straight away off the bat, you're like, so she's got the bit between her teeth. She knows what a question is. She knows it ain't been answered. So she's going to, as you put it, kick him in the balls, let him know, no, we're not going to have a redefinition of words. What is the definition?
Just so you know, this happened last week, and she has since been fired from that position.
Is that really the case over this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they're not stating it's over that yet, but that's she's had friction with a guy, you know, Ben Shapiro, you know that guy? She works within a company connected to him, and she's had friction with him, calling her anti-Semitic, basically, or inferring that she is.
No, they've shat it.
Hang on.
Not infer that.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, see, but the point is that there's a lot of things she'd like to speak out on, and she's been held back working for this group, this called the Daily Wire, and she was sacked yesterday. This only happened 2 days beforehand or 3 days beforehand. She had one show after this.
I see. So she's what is she? An anchor or something? Is she a broadcaster, a news broadcaster?
She's freelance journalism or internet. She's just like I saw a very small clip back in 2023.
No, she's not on major TV. She's not on big TV.
No, okay, please, right. I saw a very small clip, right, in 2023 where she's asking about flat Earth, then nothing more. That tells me that it wasn't her, it was the company she works for, right, that made sure she didn't ask any more questions about it, because nothing more happened about it. So there's a lot of issues that she's broached and brought up, and things she's called out, and she probably would call out more given the opportunity. And I think she just kept on butting heads with the people around her, and they sacked her yesterday. 2 or 3 days after this interview. Just wanted to give that a little bit.
They didn't sack her. The language is very important because they paid up her contract with the Daily Wire. She was contracted, so they've paid that up, so that contract's ended. Okay, over that. And last week they claimed that she was free to say whatever she wanted and her opinion was valid. Interesting where they've decided to pay up her contract. Good thing about Candace is you can see this contract was something like 3 million odd, but kind of irrelevant because her husband is like a multi-millionaire to some steel industry, some British guy. So she's set for life, and that's why she's quite empowered. Doesn't need this for fame. She attacks all of these issues speaking honestly, yeah, from her viewpoint, and that's why I've got respect for her, because she's just straight up
You know,
John Bull. You know what I mean? She is spade's a spade.
Hey, that would be very helpful.
The current definition of anti-Semitism today has to do with what the feelings are. It has to do with anti-Zionism, number one. That is a definition. Anti-Zionism, anti-Israel is anti-Semitism.
Okay.
This isn't
So you believe that Jewish people can be anti-Semitic?
Absolutely.
Can we pause
Okay.
that there, Nathan?
So when you
that is shocking. That's the whole point of what I just tried to make a distinguishment. He's now tried to make out it's the same thing. Now, if you got any, whether you believe in the Holocaust, all of history, just assume it's all true, and that was done against individuals because of their faith and their, I believe Shakespeare, their wanting to use usury as something that was against the Christian world in which they operated. So lots of reasons to hate these people for that. To now draw that parallel as a Jew, therefore any actions of the state of Israel are equivalent to that is disingenuous. Rings a bell with ballers. Yeah, a lie, false equivalence.
see a gathering of Jewish people who say, you know, I'm Jewish, but I don't support Israel or Bibi Netanyahu, you say that person can be anti-Semitic.
You just did two different things and was very. You just did two different things that were totally unrelated, Candace.
Okay.
You said that Jews that do not support Israel.
Yes.
And you said Jews that do not support Bibi Netanyahu.
I'm just saying that because he's the current prime minister. So I'm saying like if they say I don't support.
No. This is where you're missing the point. So
Okay.
I'm going to go under the following premise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go under the premise that you care about people. You and I don't know each other, but I'm going to go under that premise.
Here we go. I smell a generalization.
I'm going to go under the premise that you have no desire.
You can go here, Nathan, is who what you'll have heard on the streets of London over the past year since this conflict's been going off, which is the from the rivers to the sea chant, which is Islamist chant that's going off, that's kind of calling for the disbandment of the state of Israel. Now, again, frankly, you know, as a Jew, that's not a bad thing, because, like, it's not biblical that it would be Churchill that would form my state. Again, he's drawing that same conclusion that statement is wholly anti-Semitic. It's not. It's a very political statement. Now, there might be anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish undertones in it. Again, he should be making that distinguishment, not trying to pull the things into the same room. Should be more. He is more informed, isn't he? This is again like a baller. He is more informed, but to give the more informed opinion would be to weaken his argument.
To ever hurt anyone. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the premise I'm coming into this dialogue with. You have been devastatingly hurtful, and I think that I'm going to go from that. You don't understand what.
Sounds familiar.
Hurtful.
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 What it means to the Jewish world.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great teaching that.
Again, Brian.
He's pissing at her back and telling her it's raining. He's trying to tell a black lady, a black woman from America, all about the pain of his people and how she has added to that pain. I mean, this is what he's at. While he's sitting there, he's probably never saw a poor day in his life, this guy. And he thinks he can point at her, you know what I mean, and tell her that she should be guilty about something she hasn't even done. You know, it's a twist your feeling, twist up the feelings, and use feelings instead of an argument. That's what this is to me.
That comes out of every sociologist, every person in academics, is that I don't get to tell a black man if he's experiencing racism. He knows. I don't get to tell you if you're experiencing misogyny. You know. If I make a comment and it's misogynistic, and you say, Rabbi, you know, that was really misogynistic, my job is to say, wow, I didn't mean that. I apologize. That's not what I meant. And
Why would it automatically be the case that it wasn't what you meant? But fair enough, for the sake of argument.
Why would it know? That's the point. So if my feelings, my sensibilities are offended, automatically you're indicted. And it's incumbent upon, not for me to maybe reappraise what I received and how I assessed it. I'm automatically, because I'm offended, validated. Piss off, you woke fools. This is the point of wokery. No, I am a lady. I am a lady. Yeah? I'm offended by the fact that you think that I've got balls and a beard, but I claim I'm a lady, that I'm not a lady. And I'll focus on the offence as opposed to my balls and beard, which would be petard my pretense, wouldn't it? Yeah? Focus on the offence.
Yeah, if you can make people believe. Sorry, this is another situation that he's trying to promote here. You'll hear it throughout it, where he's trying to change reality, make people doubt what's known and true. Thanks, Nathan.
And do not get the right to say what is anti-Semitic or Jew hatred. I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to. I don't think I said anything about me having the right. I just said to you, would you then view, because I did host somebody who was Jewish, Dave Smith, on my show. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's a.
Did she just use the I know black people argument? I think she did. I've got a black friend. That's the argument. It
doesn't matter, does it? Because what's he saying? He's put it to her. You don't get the right to say what's anti-Semitic. She could say to him, you don't get to say what's anti-black. Lovely. Who does then? Jews for the Jewish issues and blacks for the black issues, which is the point she's raising earlier. No, it's common freaking sense, mate. Just because you're a Jew,
wouldn't it be up for contextualization through discussion? That is to say, you exercise the Socratic method, but in so doing, by saying, "But you don't get to define what it means." Well, no. Should we not reach a conclusion based on what it is actually defined as between us, and when we agree, then we can move forward because we have an agreed upon definition for a word. That's the Socratic method. But his positioning is to say, no, you don't get to take part in the Socratic method. That's what he's essentially saying, isn't it?
I'll redefine it as it suits me from my position. The only people that can defend it are those that have been offended. Which is...
He's libertarian. He is not pro-Zionist. So I'm just asking you for clarity, because you're saying that you can't dismiss a Jewish person, but aren't you thereby dismissing Jewish people who say that I don't support Israel as a state? I'm just trying to have you answer that question.
And the answer is, I will ask you back the same question. Mm-hmm. Are there blacks who do not support blacks? Are there pick the cause or the minority who do not support or actually even better? You and I both sit on the conservative side politically. We share that, right? And we face the same way when it comes.
Again, fallacy, false analogy. Where is, other than Wakanda, where is this state of blacks that exists? There are lots of countries that are majority black, just like there's lots that are white. None of them are exclusively black. There is the state of Israel that is exclusively Jewish in of itself, a bit like where there's a Christian, but they are Jewish. This is a false equivalence policy now. Like I say, unless you count Wakanda.
And we both, I think, are disappointed in those who are Republicans in name only, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that mean they're not Republicans?
Well, I wouldn't describe a race as a political ideology, like a political party. That's very different. So to say that you can't be a race.
Why is he talking through her? She pointed out false equivalence. He's immediately babbling through her. You notice?
Like, you're not black if you don't support this.
Very baller-esque. Oh, what? You've identified me as using a fallacy? Well, then I will chant straight through the top of that.
He didn't get a
Different.
full sentence out, did she? Not a full sentence. He's realised, oh shit, the straw man I'm trying to use, that's not going to work. She's identified it straight. I'll just talk over it. Very good, Brian.
For my audience's benefit, the reason we're looking... Well, I'll let Brian explain it. I don't know if I've done this already while we were streaming, Brian, but I'm going out to members. Can you just explain why we're covering this video? Because it seems off the beaten path if you've just joined us. 7 people watching. Ah, no.
The reason we're watching it is because this guy is displaying extreme baller-esque patterns of behavior, where he's trying to change what's known and true. He's trying to not stick to the Socratic method, which is things are clearly defined and we both agree on the definition. He's trying to not have that situation, and he's trying to use feelings as opposed to argument, and personal attacks as opposed to argument against Candace Owens. So it doesn't matter who he is, it's his behavior, or what he's supporting or not supporting. It's his behavior that's very baller-esque. And I swear, and I said this earlier, that I know his voice and he has turned up in this arena under a different assumed name. Maybe I'm wrong.
Wow, that bit I'm not so... Yeah, great, thank you.
I've
Then,
not
like,
got
you're
that,
basically-
but just for your audience, the parallel I draw, we've kind of drawn, joining is anti-Semitism and force, or gravity as a force. It's kind of where we're trying to get that equivalence. As this guy special pleads for his definition, just as ballers special plead for their definition. Every other word's rigid. The one that means they can modify their argument at that point. I'm done.
Saying that a Jewish person can be anti-Semitic. So that would be like saying a black person can, in fact, be racist towards, or they're not black.
Look, I'm not going to comment on black.
You did. You just drew the comparison. What's going on?
She just called him out for his rubbish.
So he's not going to comment. Well, I'm not making an argument that we even have Earth Curve. You've just spent 20 minutes arguing for it and you lost. Yeah, but I'm not even making that argument.
Community?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to comment on tire pressure and how you have to have the tire to get tire pressure. I'm going to comment on that. I'm going to go back to talking about how this pseudo force pulls things down. My definition of what force is again.
I never said the geometric horizon was Earth curve.
Just so we're clear in the rules of engagement here, Adam, as a heliocentrist, I am the one who gets to define what pressure is. You don't get to have a say. Just so we're clear.
Right.
Yeah. Hating Jews.
Well, these are perfectly reasonable rules by this guy's standards.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do believe, that's all I was trying to get you to say, is that Jewish people who don't support Israel, you are saying they are anti-Semitic. I just want to understand that.
I'm saying it very clearly. They are self-hating Jews. Let's use that term very specifically.
Okay.
And you need to understand why they are self-hating Jews. And you need to understand, as numerous people have talked about, I've written about, Prager's talked about, Gorka's talked about.
That's such a dangerous tool he's using, isn't it?
No, but you know what that means, don't you?
What?
It means that people that believe in heliocentrism, but also recognize that you can't have gas pressure without a container, self-hating heliocentrists.
Yeah.
About Levin's talked about. A number of people have talked about. Shapiro's talked about.
Is that not double Dutch for people that recognize the contradiction?
What are self-haters, according to this guy? Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Self-hating heliocentrists.
By comparison, yeah.
About is that a people want to assimilate. For 2,000 years, Jews have been persecuted, and so they want to assimilate. And so many have converted from Judaism not to another religion, but to leftist politics.
This Is this not a baseless assertion and stereotyping fallacy?
That becomes their religion.
Yeah.
And they lose their identity. That is a reality.
Who are they? All Jews?
So
the Jews that don't agree with his opinion have converted to a leftist Marxist ideology, even though they would still claim they're Jews. He's now defined them as self-hating Jews, even though they're still technically Jews, and that's why they're behaving like that, even though they're still Jews. I think that's what
you need to understand, or I shouldn't say you need to, that's not fair, and I apologize. I would hope that you understand a history and an understanding that we define what anti-Semitism is. And what happened on October 7th.
Hold up. Isn't that what she asked him 15 minutes ago?
Yes, twice.
What's anti-Semitic?
Yes, twice she asked him.
And now he's hoping that she'll understand it. Why didn't you just bloody tell her?
No, when asked to define something, an explanation for how you lack the knowledge of history is that's how it's done, Adam. What's your problem?
What happened on October 7th, and I wrote an article about you in November. I don't know if you read it or not. I was told that you had, but I don't know if you did or not.
I did not.
Okay. I wish you had, and I really wish you had, because we might be in a very different place. You went on Tucker Carlson.
Called you a bitch. Basically. Yeah.
After all, this is November.
So just stop again.
And
that is a proper baller.
Is that an appeal to pity?
No, that's Roofy. I've put a YouTube video out. Have you seen it? Oh, Roofy. Oh. And he's kind of disappointed because he wants a response to his YouTube video. I called you a bitch in an article. Have you seen it? Because I'm trying to goad you. No. Oh, damn. That's that straw man burn.
I wish you had. It would have really hurt.
Yeah. Exactly. You'd be crying now or apologizing if you'd read that letter, bitch.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to say I want to talk about that because you put that in this article, which was published just last week.
So I wrote a very specific article, and you can find it right now. And it was an impersonal invitation to you and for you.
Well, hold up. What's an impersonal invitation?
One written to the public in an article format.
Like a pussy shout out. Is that what it means?
Yeah, basically.
I had read or seen or heard.
Say again.
Socratic method. Listen to the way shithousers talk. Yeah, it was an impersonal invitation. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that. It means you just went out there and slagged me off in public.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you mean. I went out there and I slagged you off, and I tried to use your superior fame to mine for me to garner some attention. That's what he means.
Is this, calling a spade, Adam? Is this what holds us back? You and I specifically in this discussion, right? Because what I'm watching from Candace here is her showing a tremendous degree of restraint to the point where she's chewing her face off, right? So, I don't know. The admiration that, although new from me to her, is for perhaps different reasons than the admiration that you guys already know she have got for her. Because what I'm seeing at the moment is restraint, a huge amount of it. The kind of restraint that QE's like advising us to do when he's like, just let them open their mouths, right? That's a skill that I just don't possess. The ability to bite my tongue. What we're critiquing now would be the focus, and the juicy bits are here because she's kept her mouth shut, I would assume, right? I haven't watched this already, so I don't know, but I'm assuming that's the case. But you and I, in this moment, what would we be doing, Adam? We'd be saying what you've just said. What? The personal invitation was you slagging me out in public? Because we would feel compelled to correct this crap, wouldn't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yes, but the problem is that.
Hold on, Brian. Let me just see. I just want to add
it.
It was him that pointed it out, so I just want to hear what he's got to say on it. You go after, but go ahead, Alan.
Depends what you're doing now. I think What are you doing? What are you wanting to do? Are we wanting to debate? No, this is not a debate. This is an execution. Of course, she's read the letter. Yeah? She's letting them, as you alluded to, let them hang themselves. And that's what she's doing. She stayed on target right now. Yeah. We've still yet to define gravity. Yeah. We've still to define it. And she's holding him to it whilst he hangs himself. Yeah. And he desperately, still not defined it. And he's desperately thrown out there another bone. Oh, the oil rigs are hazy. Yeah. In terms of, I slagged you off in a separate article. Please bite on this so I can move on.
Okay. So what you're saying
He's
is
killing
this
it.
constant chaff. Chaff.
And she's stayed on target, but that is not a debate. What this is a YouTube assassination of somebody that's put themselves in a position after slagging someone off, and she's going to do this calmly. This is like Riley, court of law for her. That's why her face is like that. Even when he's pissing in it, yeah, she's not even wiping her face. She's not even recognizing he's pissing in it. Yeah. Even though she knows, she's just chewing it up. She's had one line, which was very cutting. And then she's put him back to the main point. And he's waffled to the point that he said, he's reiterated the question now. He's still no further forward. I think this is the way to be. If we ever ended up on mainstream, this is the way we have to be. We don't have to defend our position. We have to get them to defend theirs. And
Right.
that's what's happening here.
Yeah, there's a lot to take out of this. Go ahead, Brian. What are you going to say?
Well, what I'd say about it is that she's in danger of losing concentration by letting him waffle on. We don't let people waffle on, and that's what this guy is doing. So, no, even in her position, I would not allow the waffling. I would have got a definition up on screen, and regardless what nonsense he wants to come up with about what anti-Semitism is, that is the definition of it. So what you're coming up with is some nonsense that's not official, and I would have held him to that, and I would have pulled him on all these nonsense, and I wouldn't have given him the floor to speak. I wouldn't have given him the floor to speak because I would have been pulling them apart bit by bit. But she does an excellent job. He shows this is, we're not even getting to the part yet. His dishonesty is phenomenal. We're only getting there now. We haven't even started there yet. But I wouldn't have given this guy even an inch. That would be my tactic with him.
Right. So with that in mind, Brian, right? So on the left is Nathan, and on the right is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Instead, I would suggest do a Candace. Suck it up, fuzzball. Right? Take it on the chin and get every word out of him. And then for the next 6 months to a year, milk every word. We are how far into this? This has not said a word other than a round of applause for the one sentence she's done. We are analysing every bit of shithousery this double speaking, two-faced liar is putting out there as he refuses to define the prejudice that he's claiming he's subjected to. That's what's being demonstrated. It's just like the ballers as they refuse to define the force that does these things. This is it. But let them speak. That's not to say be polite to Gem Panda. If you ever got to the point that it is Nathan and Coxie even, yeah, that's how you let them idiots speak and you politely keep them on track. Despite, as Nathan says, all their firing of chaffs. We've had a lot of chaff so far.
Who would you rather have, Tyson or Cox?
Tyson.
I'd rather have Cox.
Yeah.
What, as a warm-up?
No, not as a warm-up.
No, me too. I'd rather have Cox.
I'd rather have Cox because I think he would be more passionate and he's less disciplined. That is to say, if you're going to say, well, which do you think you'd win? Well, I think I'd be more likely to get a better result, more juice out of Cox. I think there's more juice for the squeeze out of Cox than there is out of Tyson. I think Tyson's steadfast nature might actually serve him reasonably well. That is to say that he could take the Candace Owens approach to anything that we were to refute him with, and in his special way, deflect it very efficiently, and then get back onto his waffle. Now, if you're saying, well, the attitude is let him waffle, then if he gets the mic 70% of the time, he's just got his nonsense waffle of heliocentrism, with a few awkward questions that he has skillfully deflected, like they were unimportant. So I would say that Cox would have a better line in to get more juice out of than Tyson would be. That's just my suspicion.
I suppose if it was who's first, I'd go Coxie, because then after that, things can only get better, can't they?
Boom. Yeah, I know. Do you know what I'm driving at? I think when Tyson says he doesn't want to be out charismaed, like the opponent might be too charismatic and therefore win the debate. Well, I think that's almost like a ballsy move to say, nah, I know I've got the level of charisma required. Or maybe it's not. Maybe that is actually his fear. Maybe there is no lines to read between. Maybe would be an easier target because of his steadfast adherence to a heliocentric idea that could be overcome with any of the arguments we utilise. Therefore, suddenly he's in a big steaming pile of mess because of his adherence to that heliocentric rhetoric that he can't deviate from. Cox would try and flap his way around it and end up bullshitting, I reckon.
Mike, if you think about that pub meeting with his producer, where he gets irate at his producer.
He was in the back of the car, but yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. You might get more tells out of Cox. But you know, if I want to know who, if I'm a boxer and who am I going to fight, Tyson or Jake Paul? Test my skills. Even at this age, I'd go Tyson. Yeah, in both Tysons, not Neil deGrasse Tyson in the boxing.
Here we go. Let me give you an example. Right, you get Cox over the ropes. Right, Cox is on the ropes with gravity isn't a force. When there's a concept within heliocentrism that fundamentally requires it to be one, i.e. gas go down, go boom, boom. Right, so you've got him over the ropes on that particular concept. This is Brian Cox. I think at the point where there's a contradiction that he can't overcome, he would get frustrated and attempt to try and work his way around it, and that would result in some quite juicy sound bites. Whereas Neil deGrasse Tyson would go something to the effect of, like a magician, well, we don't know. But have you ever thought about? And then move on to some shite, making it almost inconsequential, whereas Cox would flap his way around it. Do you see what I mean? There's a way with words that Tyson could employ where he's dismissive. Yes. Like when he was asked, what is gravity? Well, we don't know. Maybe he sensed that could go in a direction that he doesn't want to take. Therefore, he can use some ultimate hand wave dismissal within his own rhetoric to just magic wand his way around that discussion.
That's the point. If he says that way, you say, well, and it's the only question you should spend the rest of the interview on. Yeah, the only thing that matters. And that's what she's doing, right? So we've had the Tyson bit where he's tried the flim-flammy bollocks with history and all this stuff, and he's tried the Coxie losing it bit where he said, "Oh, by the way, I slagged you off." Did you see that in my informal letter? The one where I called you a bitch. That one, an anti-Semitic bitch. Did you see that? And yeah, Coxie losing it, and she's not responded to either. She wants more out of this. She's got
there's more. She has a reason for being quiet.
Yeah, she's got no interest in making a killing point yet. All she's drawing out of him. Give me more. That's what I'm saying. Hold
on. It's Brian. Hold on, Adam. You're saying she's a panther. This is her stalking her prey, so to speak.
Yeah.
She's a cat. She's already caught the bird. She's playing with it now.
Okay. Like I say, I haven't seen this. Let's have a listen to a bit more.
That my belief and my hope is that your comment of wanting to have an academic discussion about October 7th came from a place of not really realizing what October 7th was. October 7th is unique in recorded human history as the ugliest day of humanity. What was done on October 7th? Taking a young woman, taking her phone to videotape her being raped on the corpse of her dead boyfriend, and then shot on it and sending that video to her parents.
It's a bleeding fallacy.
Beheading a man with a garden hoe, kicking a woman.
Go on. This is pretty graphic.
This is Phil. Yeah. He's still not prepared to define the term anti-Semitism. What he's prepared to talk about is something that was shown on YouTube, which is a violation with regards to this conflict that's going off right now.
And that appeal to sympathy.
That's not right. So is anti-Semitism raping a woman on her dead boyfriend's body while streaming it on YouTube? Is that what anti-Semitism is? Is that because that's what he's now saying? Basically, he's not answering the question. He's giving it a very emotive story, as you saw him feign with his eyes and his momentary pause. Yeah, which is just wankery. It's wankery, isn't it? It's terror. Yeah.
He's trying to take a war crime and turn it into anti-Semitism. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's called murder, right? That's what that is. Yeah. That's what happened. So is that what anti-Semitism is? Rape and murder. They're not tough questions. He's just not answering them like a baller. What is a force? What is a force?
Woman until her body parts fall off is unique in terms of the intention to attack civilians. And so in November, after you made the comment on Tucker Carlson about wanting an academic discussion about how, those kind of comments that you made and the ennui that you demonstrate, I wrote an article saying that I would arrange for you, there's a film, a 47-minute film by the IDF. It is not based, it is all the footage done by the Hamas terrorists of what they were doing so proudly, what they wanted to do. And that my belief was, I don't think that you quite realize that, and I would arrange for a private screening for you and your friends. Mm-hmm. And that I would arrange that, and then have the discussion about how you feel about October 7th.
Okay, so I just really would like to get to your article because I think it's important. I want to acknowledge your pain about October 7th.
Wait, that's not an opinion. That's not an opinion.
No, I didn't say opinion. I said I want to acknowledge your pain about October 7th.
I apologize. I think it's an opinion. I apologize.
I didn't say that. I said I want to acknowledge your pain about October 7th, and I want to get to that because...
Yeah, I like her style of hand wave. Yes, yes. Moving on to the actual point. I'll acknowledge it so that you don't claim that I'm some insensitive prick that hasn't even acknowledged what you've said. So I acknowledge your pain. Now let's get back on track.
Exactly.
I think he's just about to move on, though, in terms of this was a flat earth thing. No, we've still got to define force, anti-Semitism. He's gone on. Is she going to put I love it here? Because I've not watched this part. I've only heard critique of it, how she kicks the shit out of him.
Let it happen. This is like what she's doing now is this is what she's been waiting to do. She's been biting her tongue. It's like, don't bite on it, don't bite on it, don't bite, as in don't jump on it. She's been biting into her tongue for this, which is one of about 4 different moments. She listen to what happens.
Yeah, you're mischaracterizing what I said on Tucker Carlson, but I do have the clip and we're going to be able to watch it. I definitely did not say I wanted to have an academic debate about October 7th. That's not what I said at all. But like I said, I have the clip. And I do also want, I think it's best for us to dive into what you actually wrote about me, because there are several mischaracterizations, I believe, of what I said, but both of us are going to be able to watch it. So again, this is the article. And by the way, you did say in this article that you heard that I received your invitation. That is false. I think it's
No, I
important to
apologize.
just maybe name the people who told you that I received your invitation.
No, I'd rather not do that, especially since you're saying that it's incorrect, and in which case I apologize.
No, you can apologize. I just think that like
Brilliant.
a lot
Pause
of
there.
the reason that things
That-
happen is because
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And he backtracked straight away with an apology.
Shows how
Sorry.
much of a lawyer he is.
Yeah. Who is it then that told you that you've made? Yeah. After you publish your bitch article, you know that people told you that I know that I found out and read your bitch article. Who are they?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm not even going to attempt to try and support any of that rubbish. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to say anything about their names because you're contesting it. I'm sorry. I apologize. So, in other words, I'm just going to write whatever I want about you publicly. And if you pull me on it at any point, I'm just going to say, oh, sorry, I must have my facts wrong. And that's it.
Respawn.
Yeah,
Respawn.
respawn. Back to the start.
because there is this sort of back channeling and discussion, and nobody told me that I got an invitation, and now you've written that I refused an invitation, and so that adds to people believing.
So her reaction is to go, no, I don't just accept this. You've bullshitted your way through this nonsense, and an apology won't cut it. So let's just carry on focusing on the nonsense that you've spewed. And no, what he's going to do when after an insincere apology is rumpus her, talk straight through the middle of her while she clarifies the point that she wants to get disclosed to him so he can react to it. No, don't want to listen, blah, 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 talk through the middle of you. This is all very familiar.
Yeah.
So, Candace, I'm going to ask you a question right now. I'm inviting you to forget about the article because I have.
Excuse me? Let's just forget about the article we're discussing where you lied overtly about what I said. No, that's not. So taking control of the conversation by asking her a question because he wants to reposition this so he's in control of the discussion. And the first thing he says once he retains control of the discussion is, forget the article where I lied.
Forget the second law of thermodynamics. Right? We've got a concentration gradient. Let's just stick with the concentration gradient and ignore the second law. Bullshitters, liars, deceivers. Yeah, that's what it's all about. What you can't have in this conversation or anything, and that's what he's strawman Candace then said that I'll give you the citation. Yeah. And notice in this arena he backed down, Nathan, because the citation's there. No, I didn't call for that. I didn't say that. Yeah. If he did, then
she's a flat earther, right?
Well, it's the point I'm making is if you actually call up the facts, the argument is lost. The only way you can proceed the argument is to special plead, deny certain facts, just secede certain points, as if then after the secession of that point, it doesn't matter. You can continue the argument, which is what he's just done there. It's what the ballers do. Like I said, well, okay, let's just get the second law of thermodynamics, get gas behavior, but we have got different air pressures at different altitudes. Let's just work with that and mean the cause must be gravity.
Right. Or in this instance, for her specifically, the whole article and the substance of it, he said he was hoping she would watch or have read because it's very impactful. And it's impactful based on his argument that she's an anti-Semitic bitch, as you called it by summary, Adam. Well, if your premise is flawed and contains lies, at which point, what do we ignore the fact that you've levelled all these accusations? Is this the end of the discussion? No, for this temporary subterfuge, let's forget the article with all the lies, right? You'll still remain the anti-Semitic bitch that I'm going to claim you are, but the lies that I used to justify it, we can just forget about those temporarily. Now let me ask you something. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
I'd love to write an article saying I was wrong. Candace Owens does not feel that way. I would love that. So I'm inviting you right now. I will set up a screening for you. Will you come?
If you set up a
Okay,
screening for me
pause.
after we go through this,
Yeah.
I'm in this thing because I believe in science, right? And if I looked into this and I got the evidence, yeah, that the Earth was flat, I would love that because all I want is the truth. I would love the fact that the Earth's flat, but it's not flat. You are an anti-Semitic bitch.
I want to also be able to estimate your character by going through some of the things that you wrote. You did write some things that I believe.
Wait. I'm asking you.
Wait. Did I not just take control of this conversation and tell you to forget about my lies? Did I not just tell you that? I would consider this anti-Semitic.
That's no question.
No.
Go on. Brian.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And I just said to you, I'm going to give you an answer to that, but I want to first go through your article because I want to be able to estimate.
So I'll leave your ideas of me going to a screening on the table, so long as we don't just, as you tried to control the conversation with that exact statement, ignore your article where you lied through your back teeth about me. We'll just focus on it. In other words, ping pong. Yeah, back at you. I love this. This is great fun.
I'm asking you a question. I will take the entire article.
I'm not saying I'm not going to answer your question. I am just saying that I would like to go through this, see how you feel.
You said you hadn't had an invitation. I'm asking you. I don't have to be there. I'll set it up for you.
Because that's what this is all about, right? Whether or not she had the invitation. No, you said she had, and then lied through your back teeth about the circumstances surrounding her receiving it, when she hadn't. But now if you can reposition it that you've asked her now, strictly speaking, you've asked her now, so now she has had the invitation, perfect wiggle room for convolution, which is what's now going to take place through rumpusing, is it not?
It's appeal to a non-reality event outcome. So I'll take you to a room and we'll go through the whole dialogue, blah blah. I'll bet you $5,000, Nathan Oakley. Yeah, this is desperation in terms of presenting your argument. You're no longer presenting your argument. You're appealing, like I say, to some future pleading special event fallacy that would prove your point instead of you just proving it. Well, in the case of Candace here, well, don't take me to a special room to go through it. Just show me the bit that proves your point.
That was a good one. I'll bet you 5,000. Good one,
okay,
Adam.
Sure. If you want to set it up for me to have a screening of that here without you there, that's fine. What I'm saying is that I would not. I based on what you wrote about me, I wouldn't take I wouldn't take an invitation from you anywhere. I think that's.
Now she's positioned her requirement for him to address her points as a conditional acceptance of his offer. That's clever. No, based on how you treated me in this article, I would not accept your invitation to this screening. Therefore, we're going to need to go through these positions that you took in your article in order for me to accept your invitation. I love a good conditional acceptance.
That's fair, given what's in this article. I think that's a normal human response, that if somebody has written something that is utterly libelous about you, it mischaracterizes what you said.
Yeah, let's just put my hands out in front of the camera and stop you from talking about the libelous garbage that I've lied about you with, because I already tried to take control of this conversation, reposition it so that you've had the invitation personally now. Now, that's how I'm going to reposition this and keep it there, and when you try and stop me, I'll just rumpus you. It's just that way.
Total rumpusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely desperate rumpusing. As she makes another devastating point. Oh, what you said is technically libelous. And he's in again. He's in. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, no, we do see the horizon. No, we don't. We do.
Come on, Brian.
No, I'm just saying it's going to get worse than this. Really, like his level of dishonesty is not. You haven't even seen his fraction of it yet.
Set it up separately, and you want to send it to the Daily Wire, and you want us to have a private screening, I absolutely will watch the events of October 7th.
You know what? God bless you. And had I ever heard you say that, I wouldn't have written an article.
Well, I think you still would have, because you made a lot of points in here.
No, I wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have, because I believe in the idea that it's about what.
Yeah,
Sorry, he wrote the article without her even being asked about this. No one even knows if the question even existed for her to be asked. He just wrote this big scathing article about her. He said, if I knew that, I would never have written an article. It's like he's nearly admitting he's wrote an article based on what he didn't know. He claimed that he heard that she wouldn't go to the screening, right? Or wouldn't accept an invite to the screening. And now he's saying, well, if I knew that, I wouldn't have written the article. It's like, what are you talking about?
You didn't know that, and you did write the article anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's rewrite history based on what's happened now, not what I said that was slanderous.
What we act and learn. And we have a concept called Shula Judaism. No, actually, honestly, had you said there, at any point, what you just now said to me, that you would watch a screening, I don't need to be there, but you would watch a screening.
Well, had she have read something that she didn't read and didn't know existed and that you hadn't levelled at her, you wouldn't have made the charges that you levelled at her that she couldn't have read yet when you wrote them. This is an alternate reality that doesn't make sense, mate.
If I set it up, I would not have written that article.
Okay. Well, I do still want to go through these points, though, because you...
Okay, but do you hear that, please?
Yes, I hear
that. Yeah, but you did write the article, Dumbo.
That, and thank you for saying that. Right. But a lot of what you wrote in this article is...
This is like Bev standards, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't actually say those words. What I meant was this recontextualization of the words that I actually said and did level at you. Therefore, I didn't really say them. Because they're really being said with this extra contextualization that I'm now giving them in hindsight. Perfectly reasonable.
It's hard to hold down.
Of what I'm assuming you have a friendly relationship with Rabbi Shmuley has been saying about me. So it's really important to go through these points because when you write something like is a Jew-hating bigot, that's very strong language, and we need to go through these points. So
we'll go through all of them, sure.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's just begin here. So you basically make the argument that I'm drunk on fame, and that is the reason why I have let out the truth about who I am, which makes me a Jew hater. First thing.
What an outrageous statement in and of itself. Let's see if he challenges that. In other words, is that actually contextually what he did put? First point.
You say is that this is a woman who is such an anti.
He doesn't even flinch, Adam. He doesn't even flinch.
He's not flinch. Listen, he's just outlined what he has called her in his informal invitation. This article, as a journalist, he's produced. Just as a point, as a journalist, if you're producing an article, something this deflammatory, would you not check with the source first? Especially if, after you've checked with the source and they said, well, and outside of their opinions on anything, they wouldn't have wrote the article if you'd have just known that they'd watched some video on October, whenever, the events of that day. That would therefore invalidate all the things that you've stated about them, yeah, because you'd watched that video. You're a journalist, yeah, you're making statements that are important about other people, which, as she's pointed out, is libelous, but you've made them from a non-sourced opinion, or so weak that the way you'd undermine it is by just speaking. Novel thing, speaking to the person before you accuse them of these heinous anti-Semitic, Jew-hating crimes. Very odd behaviour, isn't it? They're very similar to the crap that's put to us. Well, if you'd have just said that the horizon, I don't want to draw an analogy here because this is just straw man of the highest level. Carry on.
Anti-Semite and so ignorant of history that in 2018 she publicly said that Hitler was okay. Do you actually believe that I publicly said that Hitler was okay?
So from the recording that I heard, including the congressional testimony, which I think was taken out of context, and from the comments that you said, okay, and you correct if I'm wrong, but my understanding from your comments is you were asked a question about nationalism. Mm-hmm. And you responded about nationalism using the example that nationalism was good and that what Hitler did, Hitler was nationalistic in Germany, and that was okay. You have said specifically you think Hitler is a horrible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Pause.
And
Right,
you have
so that is cherry picking of the highest quality.
Yeah.
Highest,
He admitted
highest quality. To use Hitler, she quoted Hitler saying nationalism is okay, right? And the point where you're citing
she
Hitler
didn't
is
even do that.
no, but even if she did, this is his mitigation where he's already shat it. In his article, where he's accused her of saying Hitler's okay, he's now backtracked without not having to do a lot. He's now mitigating for it to the point of this, where by his own admission, the point of his sourcing means he shouldn't have used the quote in the first place. This is total baller behavior. Yeah?
Yeah, he's admitting
Without
that. He's
the-
admitting.
with this is conspiracy cats. Without the balloon, there can be no gas pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's admitting that, well, what he heard was, so he didn't have any, he's basically stating, but when I wrote that libelous article about you that went out publicly to absolutely everyone, I didn't have any facts to really support any of this. I just heard you said this and I heard you said that. So I don't know. And it's from these vague people who he won't name. And if he's held down to naming them, he'll just apologise for getting his facts wrong.
No, that's not what he said. He just cited how she used the statement that Hitler and nationalism was okay. He just cited how it was in regards to his nationalism and what how it drove the country, I'm assuming, yeah? He's already just cited how she's referenced it. Not Hitler was okay in terms of that kind of, that old school Jew slaying thing that he's got issues with and yet to define. Yeah? Not that. He's already just mitigated before she's even took him to task on it to say, yeah, that's probably cherry picking of the highest quality. That's what I just heard, but that's scummy. That is baller behavior.
Condemned Hitler, thank God, without question. And you also brought him up in that discussion about nationalism. Is that all accurate?
So when you just write, she publicly said Hitler was okay, that is dishonest, because what I actually was saying was answering a question, as you brought up, where we were not even talking about Jews, not talking about the Holocaust. A woman was asking about whether or not it's okay for people today to say that they're nationalist when it's often associated as a dirty word. And what I was saying was that it's wrongly associated with Hitler. I don't believe that Hitler was a nationalist because obviously Hitler invaded Poland. He obviously had ambitions outside of... So we have the clip. We have the clip. So we're going to play it. So again, the question that's being asked of me is whether or not nationalism is an okay word to embrace. Let's play the clip so we can hear me and what I actually said.
Absolutely.
On that point, I've got to disagree with Candace. Hitler didn't invade Poland. He was forced to stop the massacre of...
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Historically, that's not correct.
Let's just acknowledge it then, Brian. Hold on one sec. Yes, okay, fine. But her point is, he said, quote, that she said, Hitler was okay, end quote. That's what he's written down. That's what he's quoting her as saying, and she hasn't said it. Now this, for me, it pisses me off so much when people just make shit up that I haven't said. Especially when they say, Nathan says that, insert shite he hasn't said here, end quote. It infuriates me. Now what she's got in front of her is the article. What he has said, she has not said. It is that simple.
And that's twice now that the standards that us guys have to deal with, when you put in front of the real world, you bottle it. Now, you might tend to be the big bollocks and write this article, but when you get in front of Candace, and you're held to account to some level, you bottle it straight away, which is what I've accused him of twice. And what that doesn't happen for us, we have 2 hours of wrangling over that. People aren't honest. At this point, see,
Well,
this is the similarities and the dissimilarities. She's got the same similarities in that people lie and deceive. But actually, when it comes to the head-to-head, there's enough social pressure for this shithouse to have to back down on every lie he's made so far instantly. When we deal with the ballers, they don't. That'll be the difference.
yeah, because we're not on a mainstream stage situation, which is why obviously I charge for debates. You know, it's like put me on a stage in front of a faculty and students of a university on television, something where the person can't just get away with rubbish. Whereas we're in a situation where the opposition can just get away with spouting rubbish, and there's no one there to reel them in. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in this situation, she is on a mainstream, more internet mainstream, showing this guy up to be a total liar. You'll hear what she actually said now. I'm not going to hold up any longer. You'll hear what she actually said now.
The word nationalism, I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not national.
What she's actually said is, if Hitler wanted to achieve good things that everyone would see as good and reasonable, then fine. That's the context. Then she adds her however, and obviously describes the however that would contradict his point, where, quote, Hitler's okay, end quote, her, which she didn't say here.
Nationalism.
All those issues
So again,
outside, more fundamentally, remember what she said is good? Nationalism. There's nothing nationalistic about invading another country or genociding certain religious parts of your nation. Yeah, that's not nationalistic. So she said the bit that was good. And you know, we've got Volkswagens, baby. Yeah, where did they come from? They came from that national energization of a country that had been ruined, yeah, by the First World War. It was the rebirth. It was that nationalism that built that country up. That is truth, and it's that. This is what's interesting. There's so much truth there that is good about nationalism, and you take that and he perverts the truth, and that's what the ballers do, isn't it? I understand your frustration, Nathan. They take straightforward statements and they're twisted. Brian's doing the opposite at the moment. I like what Brian's doing with pie and stuff. Back to the ballers. He's twisting there and sticking it back at them, and this is where we're having fun, and this is where Candace is having fun, holding them to their own rhetoric, which is good.
Well, what the guy said is that in his article is that she said Hitler was okay. No context, no anything else in. She's not just proven that that's a complete load of rubbish. Now you'll hear him.
We're trying there to define nationalism. Does your statement, she publicly said that Hitler was okay, is that an honest statement?
Yeah, so let's talk about this for a moment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What a scumbag. He answered her question and then asked if it was okay to have the discussion. So I said Hitler was okay. Is that reasonable to have stated? Ergo, she's saying, are you a lying scumbag? Because that simply isn't true. And he answered, yes. Just listen to that again.
Yeah.
This reminds me, I want an analogy. So Hillbilly Blue Balls, or whatever, who did the gas pressure without a container with the hose pipe. If we took a single statement where at any one moment in time, Nathan did concede that the pressure at the bottom of the pipe was higher than that at the top of the pipe. And all we did was say, haha, look, proof. Nathan Oakley says, yes, the pressure at the bottom of the pipe was higher than the pressure at the top of the pipe. Completely out of context, got nothing, and that's what they do. That's what's being she's very calm. I like her demeanor.
Just the
Learn a
scumbaggery.
lot.
I just don't like it. It's the wordplay. I hate it.
Publicly said that
Well,
Hitler was
it's what we're
okay.
subjected to here, isn't it? Though realistically, it's frustrating because you see it in every bit of shit we deal with day in day out. It's in the context of being called an anti-Semite right now, but every bit of bullshit, not dealing with the actual issues at hand, and all bits of shithousery resonate with us because it's what we deal with day in, day out. And I've done for
10 years.
and close to 10 years.
Is that an honest statement?
Yeah. So
Yeah. No, it isn't.
let's talk about this for a moment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You were asked a question about nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
The answer to her question is no. No, it's not a reasonable statement to have said something I didn't say, because I didn't say it. But now you're going to try and justify it. What a shithouse.
You responded with an example of Adolf Hitler.
Yes. I said because Americans associate, the reason why they think it's a dirty word is because of Adolf Hitler.
You respond, and you have subsequently, and I've seen you subsequently, and I think you even said it at the congressional hearing.
So let's take us to a different example. Oh man, this is so scummy. So let's just take us away from the example where you've proven your point admirably, where my shithousery and lies have been exposed for what they are, and let's recontextualize it into a different circumstance that isn't that which I've just been caught out on.
Obviously condemned him for who he was. But you brought Hitler's name into a discussion.
Correct.
And you justified that this is how America feels or how people feel. And that's your take on it. It's not necessarily accurate. And in fact, it probably isn't.
But it's now accused her of a stereotyping fallacy she didn't commit. She gave her opinion.
From that.
We heard the clip.
This is victim fallacy. So anybody that's talking with respect to a Jew cannot use an analogy that he would deem anti-Semitic. If you do, and even if you use that person in perfectly reasonable context, yeah, because he's deemed that person anti-Semitic, for you to have referenced him in a separate context means your point is invalid, and I can accuse you of being an anti-Semitic bitch. This is
Hasn't this got a name? I swear this has been given a title in Reddit where they've ascribed it an actual fallacy, like a modern fallacy, where it's like the Hitler fallacy, where just by invoking Hitler's name in an argument, you can automatically invalidate all aspects of the argument. You use the name of Hitler, therefore you're an anti-Semitic bitch. That's his argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
You invoked his name.
Yeah, I mean, what really needs to happen, is she needs to go, okay, so you're saying I did say that. Okay, I'm going to play the video again, and you say pause when you hear me say that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's what I would do.
Yeah, exactly. I heard the clip, Brian. That's what I said. I heard it. She didn't say that. But if you can recontextualize it to a different set of circumstances where you've contextualized it, you invoked his name with an example. It's like, yeah, Brian, yeah. Candace would be well served to replay the clip and tell him to just pause when she says what he said she said. And when it don't come, just accept that you're a lying scumbag.
Sociological
standpoint. The changing of reality.
Yeah, rewrite the history books.
But that's your opinion, fine. But Candace, you put in the same sentence what he did if it just had stayed in Germany was okay. But more importantly, and here's a piece of the...
Not what she said. She said if she contextualized doing good things and saying that if he did those good things, then that's okay. Not him, the action of doing good things, to then juxtapose it with doing bad things, which he also made really clear. I mean, to cherry pick from this was a poor choice, if nothing else, right?
Anti-Semitism. Why bring one of the most evil men of history into the discussion. You could just as easily have given.
But the reason
total
she
lie.
contextualised. Did you not listen to her clip? She contextualised it.
Yeah, there was a total lie. She wasn't having a discussion about anything Jewish. It was about the word nationalism and being asked about nationalism. That's why she said the reason nationalism, the word has a bad name in America, is because people associate it with Hitler. But Hitler, well, she pointed out that Hitler can't be called a nationalist because of the direction he took.
Yeah.
That was her point.
It couldn't be any more contextual. It couldn't be any
yeah.
better contextualised, Hurst, to say, I'm going to position something about a word that I'm being asked about in a negative light by using Hitler. Sorry, what did you hear? You heard A-OK Hitler? You got that from that, did you? What the hell?
Yeah.
Any negative
This is the
examples
height
of
of
nationalism.
deflection, actually. If you look at it, it's funny, really, because obviously what happens historically is that Hitler, through nationalism, succeeds the Wehrmacht, which is the crippled German people that are paying penance to the Jewish banking system and things like the Commonwealth, paying penance because of the First World War. And it's this nationalism, this uprising, this unification of people that stands up against. Like I say, initially they come together, but they stand up against all of the impositions put against them and rebuild a nation. The Jew hating doesn't come until they've rebuilt the nation and they've got sufficient power to challenge Jews. Historically, what's interesting is he won't go near this. He's just outraged that you could mention the name of a man who did such horrific things to the Jews. Yeah, this is not debate. This is not genuine or honest, because you're not prepared to deal with the issues. In fact, you want to subvert the issues because you're so outraged at the issue. So people just, as you said at the beginning, this special kind of racism, isn't it? Special
You
kind
guys
of
still out here? What the?
No swearing.
Yeah.
I didn't swear. I said "uck."
You chose to bring Hitler on, not them.
I did, and I have no. I
Really, you should apologise it for it, love. I mean, at this point, I feel quite aggrieved. I mean, surely you should be on bended knee apologising for merely mentioning his name.
if I could go backwards
He was talking about.
in the context.
Clearly, that's clearly part of his categorization that he's still yet to reveal of what anti-Semitism is. If in any way you reference the name of such horrific people in history, I have to emote it like he did, yeah, like Adolf Hitler, then by doing so, it clearly demonstrates to him that you're anti-Semitic, because that's the pleading he's just given. Not listen to the argument. He's just said that the simple fact you've used Hitler in your argumentation, nothing related to me or in even a direct conversation with me, but the fact that you've done so demonstrates to the world you're anti-Semitic.
Of trying to understand why Americans think that nationalism is a bad word, it was appropriate for me to bring off Adolf Hitler.
She shouldn't need to do this. She played the clip. Again, her frustration is borne out in the fact that she's repeating herself. She's made a point, but he's hand-waved it and subverted it, and now she feels the need to reiterate it. She doesn't. We're listening. We heard what happened. You don't have to repeat this. This is unnecessary.
Hitler. It is totally appropriate in any capacity when you are talking about history and historical sentiments to bring up any
Yeah, it goes without saying. Go on, Brian.
I'm just saying that I think Candace is a smart lady and she's a good debater, but she hasn't met this level of scumbaggery until now. That's the thing about it. She hasn't publicly had to deal with this level of scumbaggery, which is this level of dishonesty, where a guy is obviously proven wrong, and she just goes, do you admit you're proven wrong? No. Do you know what I mean? And he tries to justify why he's saying no or saying yes or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we'd handle that very differently. We'd be nailing that guy down.
Yeah.
Relevant character that has created those sentiments. So I just want to yes or no. After watching that, I want to make sure we don't run out of time here. After watching that
This is an hour and 50 minutes long. We're at a 25-minute mark. She's pinning him down and she's using the don't want to run out of time. I mean, fair enough. You can poke that if you want to poke that. But yeah, you just nail him to the wall. You know, the preamble wasn't necessary. He's already subverted what she's reiterated in that little preamble to her. Let's just draw a line under this, which is where she's at now. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, but I think she's saying I don't want to run out of time. In other words, we're not going to hang around on this forever, and you're not going to get the waffle on forever. Moving on to the next point. That's what she's doing.
Sure.
Because what he wants to do is spend the next 20 minutes waffling on to make enough distance between him being an obvious liar and whatever other story he's going to try and fabricate, you know.
Right.
I don't think she's going to say this, right? But if she did say, we don't want to run out of time. So, what is anti-Semitism? That'd be really...
That would be the ideal thing, but only in hindsight.
Of course.
Do you think it is fair that you wrote, she publicly said that Hitler was okay? Hitler was okay.
Yeah. Yes, by bringing me even into the conversation.
What freaking outrage. Look at her face. Oh, yeah, she wants to punch him. Doesn't she? It's written all over her face. You scumbag. I did not say that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
That would not be my reaction.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be, does it? Because she realizes she doesn't need to give a reaction. We're all being the Neil. Right? She doesn't need to be Neil. Yeah? Every fucker else, listen, excuse my French, sorry, no swearing. Everybody else, right, is as sickened by that and how disgusting his behavior is, yeah, having had it outlined, cited, video shown to the point that he's misquoted and misrepresented her, and he goes, and she calmly asks, and you're happy with that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm happy to reiterate that you said Hitler was okay when you didn't say it, and when asked and proven that I didn't say it, you're happy to concede that that's the case, that I did say it. Yes, I am happy to just carry on saying that you did say that. Is essentially pissing down her back and telling her it's raining.
Yeah, but by doing, and this again comes down to social presence, how many people this is going out to. For her to argue it would be churlish. She's already demonstrated the point amicably. Everybody in the audience. She doesn't need to argue it. She's happy. This is a concluding point. This is I'll give you one more chance. And she goes, I'll give you one more chance. He goes, no, I'm going to continue in front of everybody to piss down your back. Now, only he thinks he's tricked anyone. Everybody else sees him pissing down her back, even though she was polite. And so she goes, I'll move on. Yeah? She doesn't need to do any more. She's demonstrated pissing down her back.
Fine. I'll accept that in her circumstance with this particular example because it's glaring to us, and you would hope anybody else with half a brain. However, when we're in debate and discussion with people who have a cognitive bias towards the thing that's just been demolished, they and the audience rinse and repeat mentally. So we have a difference in terms of how we have to approach this because of a fundamentalist religious belief that's ingrained in every person we oppose, including these two characters. If we were to be discussing the subject with them, they would take the cognitive position. So would she, even though she's been biting her way through her face while his outrageous lies have been exposed, which would be churlish if she was to keep reiterating, because it's glaring. But it isn't so glaring in our discussion. People still have the cognitive bias towards what they believe to be true, even when the position's been taken apart. Would you not agree?
Yes. And this
So
guy,
I'm just getting to a point. So does that mean that when I reiterate it
yeah.
20 times, it's churlish?
No, it has to
not
be.
not in this.
It's,
I think I made the distinction, and I've said it a couple of times with the social media presence, and that holds people to account. Okay, and it also means you're empowered in terms of how many times you need to make the point, which I think is what
Fair enough.
you're talking about.
Yeah, fair enough. We're not respected in a position where people go, no, she's made a point, now it's time to move on. And she does, jolly good, as opposed to,
And
I'm still in confusion. And it's not like I carte blanche will accept this person through respect based on the fact they've won their argument. I still don't necessarily accept it. Therefore, reiteration 10 times, 20 times, 50 times,
Well,
100 times.
the
Case conspiracy
difference
counts.
she's
is,
talking to a
Nathan, the
jury,
difference.
right? Just 1 sec, right? She's talking to a jury, and this is an execution. Now, when you're talking, you haven't got the next point lined up based on what the shithouse has already said previously, and you've got all these points lined up. And after you've chopped it off at the knees and you're happy with that, you move to the next point. This is what I get she's doing. Look at her body posture there. She's now ready to take him to the next point. She doesn't need to reiterate the last point. Yeah, this is a legal case. Look at it. Yeah, he's made his defence. It was pathetic. Right. She can only weaken her stance in this situation. That's very different to coming on the Fed panel, where we've got somebody that will desperately try to rinse and repeat, even if you tried to move on. Yeah, because Hitler was a bad man. Remember, that's all. They would. If we're in this situation, can't move on. Yeah, Hitler's a bad man. They'll just keep coming back to that. Different horses for courses, isn't it? Come on, Brian.
Well, that's basically what all I was going to say is that in our situation, Nathan, you have to maybe spend 20 times going through it with the person, because you don't have that big audience of people who are sitting on the fence out there. You have a load of people on their side, on the opposition side, who will just support this person regardless of how dishonest they're being, and they have the consensus. They have the biggest amount out there. And you have flat earthers then who will and won't go with you simply because they may or may not like you these days. So you're kind of stuck in a catch-22. Whereas in her position, she can go, okay, we'll draw a line underneath that and move on to the next point. Because she has shown to everyone who watches that this person is willing to be openly and outwardly dishonest. Whereas you don't have that liberty. If you had that liberty, it would be easier for you to just go, okay, and move on. Because you'd have all that support behind you publicly that you don't have now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm glad you answered. Makes me feel a lot better.
Let's move on here, because again, this discussion, we're having it between us, but I want the public to be able to, deduce what's fair and what's not fair. You then wrote this statement.
There's a little moment in that when she said, the public can decide what's fair and what's not fair. She had a little wry smile that summarised all the points you just made. In other words, I know, court of public opinion's already sided with me. Let's move on. Wry smile, nod, look at the notes. Next point. Love it.
And
you've not got that.
month.
No, I haven't. I still like the fact that she has.
Yeah, but best you've got is appeal to a mod to mute the guy or kick him out to stop that line when they just keep going, no, Hitler was bad. You trying to tell me Hitler was good, and reiterating that point, and then somebody white knights. She's got that power. He's made the point. It's a court of law here. You've made the point, you move on. And because she's got that, how many views? 3.8 million. It'd be foolish for him to make himself look stupid now, because his argument would fall apart. Now, Flat Earth debate and on the panels, they're not there to present an argument a lot of the time. They're there to derail. They will keep coming back, asking white knights, and you can't move it on because they're happy to keep it there because that's their objective, not to address a point, but to keep things stagnant also. There are different things we're dealing with. I'm not, you know what I mean? If we, like I said earlier, if we ever got to mainstream, this is how you would deal with it. You don't need to be angry. Make your point and watch them waffle. It's all sound bites. But that's not what we deal with. We deal with numpties.
month after the horrors of babies being beheaded, women being raped, and the slews of horrors from Hamas, Owens went on Tucker Carlson's show to speak about how it really wasn't that bad and why should she even care? After all, she seems to think that Hitler was okay, so what's the problem?
Notice even in his article he uses weasel words. They always do. Seems to. Oh, well, include that weasel word if you know that she actually has that view.
Is that true that I went on Tucker Carlson's show and said that October 7th
Pound says, well, it certainly seems that way.
really wasn't that bad?
Yeah, actually, you did. And you did it through the implications and the words. And
Implications, as opposed to the word she used.
I actually do know where some of those clips are because I've rewatched it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And you specifically say you want to have an academic discussion. You specifically say, I don't want to misquote you, that you believe you have a moderate stance.
Okay.
Because you see the children dying and
Right, we got 2 words, and now we've got the description of what those words mean from him. Moderate stance. Let's just remember those words that she actually said as he waffles through this nonsense.
on both sides. You
That's
talk about
an indictment, isn't it? Eh? As I heard him say that, he looked down. That's what he pulled off the page to attack her. Yeah, moderate stance. Yeah. Is that? Yeah. Is supporting Adolf Hitler in all he did a moderate stance? No.
No.
This is the disingenuousness that we deal with. You see, you come back with a rebuttal, which is, and that's why I often say that the way these guys lie and cheat. She's not going to deny that she's got a moderate stance. Lovely. It's got nothing to do with what's just been said. But he's now controlled the situation. He's now going to attack her moderate stance as if it's a far right fascist stance. It's anti-Semitic. And repaint.
Don't worry, she's got this clip as well.
I don't mean I'm not. I don't doubt she has. I'm just looking at his tactics. At what is trying to get people on the back foot, and that's what they all do to us with this, whether it's techno babble or whatever, is just to try and get an upper foot in the conversation. And it's really good examples of scummy behaviour.
the pain, and I think you do feel pain about Gaza. And this goes back to the anti-Semitism, Candace. What happened October 7th is unique. It is.
This is called rinsing and repeating.
To even make it the moral equivalency.
Special plea then. Yeah.
This is one of the.
Remember, in all the horrific things that have happened in humanity, yeah, and I'm not downplaying what's happened in Gaza, yeah. But in all of human history, it's unique. Really.
He's an anti-Semitism and any
Bible, my friend. Sorry.
Prejudice and bigotry is that an inappropriate moral equivalency is created. When someone says that this race, these people, whomever, are like dogs, they've made a moral equivalency between those people and dogs, that is bigotry. That is hatred. Would you agree with that?
I first want to debunk the idea that I did not, like I in any way said it really wasn't that bad. That statement never came out of my mouth. And I also want to show that actually, contrary to that, I condemned.
That's called rumpusing. He wants to debunk something and lay down what you have stated that she's got to debunk. So as his position that she's got to reiterate before she debunks starts to come out of her mouth, he starts talking through her. So we don't get to hear the position that she's going to take apart that you've presumably lied about because you're going to talk through it. Scumbaggery at the highest order.
Condemned what Hamas did. So let's just show that clip of what I said. And then I want to get to your quotation about academic discussion. Let's just show what I said about Hamas.
This AI tool will take
I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious.
Right.
Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response. First off, as a mother, that's not going to be my response as somebody who is about to give birth. When I see these images of children
Yes.
involved on both sides of the conflict, I've pointed to the people that are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme. So people that have become more radical and extreme are perceiving a moderate stance as not enough. And
Because I was about
Man, how does she look that good? She's about 8 months pregnant. If it hadn't cut to her bump, there's no way you would know. Just,
Oh, she's a healthy girl.
super, super healthy, obviously.
get
See, you
apart.
don't. People can disagree with you or agree with you or whatever, but you certainly don't
Sorry, totally off topic.
seem radical on this topic.
And I'm going to hold here before you comment on that, because your next sentence, as you just said, she wanted to talk about the depravities of Hamas as an academic discussion and refused to even condemn Hamas. So we just saw that I did condemn Hamas. And regarding the academic
No,
discussion,
you didn't. I'm sorry, but no, you made a moral equivalency between Hamas and Gaza.
I didn't do
There
that.
is no moral equivalency.
We just heard what she did. Why is he doing that?
What Hamas did is
that.
evil. It is not a
Not an
tragedy
argument.
only.
It's an attempt to argue the meaning of a word, argue the minutiae, which is what ballers do. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't mean it was, yeah? Whatever nuance they jump on, that's what he's seen, he's heard there, yeah? She's just said, as we heard, she's denied Hamas, yeah? Called them terrorists. It's terrorism. But not to his satisfaction, right? Or that's going to be the point he's now going to labour, yeah? That she didn't decry Hamas sufficiently, yeah, when she said they're terrorists. Well, that wasn't sufficient for her to be not an anti-Semitic bitch. Yeah? A point of nonsense. Look how emotive he was. Look how passionately he reacts. Jumps on it. Because it's all he's got. He didn't attack Hamas enough. Not.
His problem is that she said for her that dead Israeli child is sad, but so a dead Palestinian child is also just as sad. He doesn't like that there is a 50-50 equivalence being made. Like, she's not putting the death of one child above the death of another child. She's saying it's all wrong, right? And he doesn't like that, because what he wants her to say is that the Palestinian child has died because Hamas are evil and blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? This kind of thing. She is not doing that to his satisfaction. So consequently, he is then trying to label her with being somewhat supportive of, or not condemning enough of, Hamas. In other words, she might support them. It's all character assassination and rubbish.
Yep.
That's all this guy and people like him have. When I say people like him, I'm talking about people who have a voice, who get out there and write articles like he wrote that are completely fraudulent, and you know what I mean. And they get away with it, because they're just pure liars.
Yeah, the equivalence here, as far as October 7th and anti-Semitism with the globe, is that because you do not support the narrative, every single tactic employed is justified. The appeal to emotion, the appeal to pity, everything that he does is justified because you do not follow the official narrative. Therefore, I can act as scummy and ridiculous as possible, and hopefully the court of public opinion is on my side, since we've gone through so much effort to program everybody to think a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. Therefore, I can condemn you, I can attack your person, I can poison the well, I can lie, I can misquote, and it's all justified because you don't follow the official narrative.
It is evil. I'm sorry, Candace, but you make an equivalency that does not exist in most people's minds, and certainly in no Jews' minds.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that so people can hear what I actually said and hear what you are saying and how you are taking it. I don't know how you could write this statement, she refused to condemn Hamas, when I literally said who would not condemn these horrific events.
You don't condemn them uniquely evil. You put them in pari passu relationship.
Yeah, you called it, Brian.
So you're saying that even though I did, so now you're admitting that I did condemn Hamas, even though you wrote she refused to condemn Hamas.
What condemnation is? Is this where you really want to go? Is have an
Yeah, that is exactly where she's gone, because your statement's false, proven so. But basically, as I think it was Brian or it might have been Adam pointed out, your outrage isn't satisfactory. It's not to his standards. You're not on his side.
Yeah.
You're on a level. What was the quote that he picked out? Because that was his objection. I can't remember the words.
Moderate.
Yeah, moderate. So to have an even keel for both sides of the discussion and the fight, that's exactly what she's described with the quote he picked out to vilify, because you're objectively even.
Yeah, but his problem is that she's not coming in swinging with a load of emotions that are and feelings for the Israeli people and that died. She's coming in with condemnation of the death on both sides, and that's not what he wants. He wants her to come in swinging with feelings for only one side, and the state basically that the other side get what they deserve, because that's actually his position. If you listen to him, that's basically his position, that the other side get what they deserve. That's the attitude, as opposed to
Sorry.
anything else. No, that's it. Yeah.
No. You wrote she refused to condemn Hamas. These are your words.
Because when you put that, at the moment you say that they have a moral equivalency with anything else, that's not condemnation. No matter.
I didn't. I said it's sad when an innocent.
It's not condemnation, and it's not.
I'll just ask you a question. Is it sad? Is it sad?
Sure. Sit there and do that.
I don't want to cut each other off, okay? Because clearly what we are having here is just a disagreement. There's no reason to get angry. Do you think? Do you think it is sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies?
Okay, so that's what I said. He's accused her of not castigating Hamas. He's then castigated them, and then he said, "No, that's not enough." And now that's where the argument is, where he's held the argument, where he's getting so irate, in a nonsense point, which is how much she should have attacked Hamas before she then moved on to address the situation. He didn't call them evil enough. The anti-Semite bitch.
Yeah. The fact that she's proven, all that's happening here is she has proven that what he wrote was completely wrong, and his only comeback is that she did say that, but she didn't say it enough. That's not what was in his argument.
Yeah, you didn't attack Hamas enough to make it clear to me that you're not an anti-Semite.
Exactly.
Candace, I cry every day. And it's not just for Israel.
Lies.
And this is one of the things you clearly do not understand. The same way most don't, who are anti-Semites, who don't get it. I cry for what's going on in
Leveled the accusation error in his outrage.
Israel. I cry just as much for what we are forced to do. Golda Meir had a great quote. She said,
I told you. They get what they deserve, the other side. That's his attitude.
Oh, it's worse than that. We're forced to do that to them.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I don't just cry when Israelis are raped on their partner's dead body. I cry when we have to rape Palestinians on their dead bodies.
Because they force us to do it.
We have to do that.
One day we may be able to forgive them for killing Israeli children. We will never be able to forgive them for making us kill their children.
What?
The standards, the
Say
double
what?
standards. Wow. Wow.
So what about my statement?
This could go
That
badly.
just shouldn't be passed over, should it?
Shouldn't be passed over. She's going to focus on her statement, though. This could lower
she
my.
will.
Saying that I also cry for Palestinian children is wrong to you if you also admit it is sad when Palestinian children die.
No, he didn't admit that.
It's painful, but it is not in any way, shape, or form morally equivalent to October 7th. That is the anti-Semitic bigotry.
But I didn't say that. I just want to be clear. People are watching this.
9/11. October 7th.
Yeah,
That's just not what came out of my mouth. But I'm not gonna. I don't want to get hung up. I don't want to get hung up on that. I want to now point to. You said I wanted to talk about the depravities.
She should have been. She's caught up in the outrageous assertions that have been leveled at her door, and she's missed that little golden snippet, that little soundbite slipped her by the sounds of things. You know, his outrage for the atrocities that.
Sorry, Nathan.
Well, he's describing a double standard. He's saying when we do it, we're forced to do it, and I feel terrible that they force us to do it to them. When they do it to us, it's an outrage. She didn't express enough about it. But she's not picked up on that, and he said it to her. But there we go. Just saying.
Is that not?
Yeah.
Is that not what? That's an abuse situation, isn't it? He forces. It's not his fault, right? Yeah. It's my behaviour that means he has to beat me.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
not my fault. But this is in reverse. This is the attacker saying, "Look, genuinely, I don't want to hurt her. I have to because she's so naughty. The only way is to do these things that I know are abhorrent." Now, whether you think that's right or wrong, that is like human behaviour in every bit of human conflict we've ever had. But it's not a special pleading I'd be using. Because
what I would say about it is, what I would say about it is she could jump on those things, but I agree that she's doing the right thing by getting back to the things he claimed she said and showing, because at this point we're moved so far away from her proving that she didn't say the things he claimed she said. It's gone into a different facet of it. So what are we going to argue about now? Whether one death is more sad than the other, or are we going to go back to where you said I said this, and I've just proven that I didn't? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
If
she gets into this wrangle-dangle, he's won because he's drawn her into him having an argument with her about how his position that he's just took, no matter how outrageous, can be discussed and will be discussed, and then he's got the argument on the track he wants it rather than the lies he's told, which is the purpose here, isn't it? So you're right, Brian. To keep it back on track, demonstrably shows this man as being the liar that he is, and that's what she's got in front of her. So even though it's her that she's primarily focused on in terms of the material, that will keep the conversation on track. Taking it onto his little segue that he's decided to take her on isn't really reasonable when she's holding him to task. Let's just have a listen.
I'm going to quote it. She wanted to talk about the depravities of Hamas as an academic discussion. Actually, I was talking about NATO, and here is the clip of what I said when I used the words academic discussion. Take a listen. I mean, you can go back to me even talking about NATO expansion before things erupted between Russia and Ukraine, and having a meaningful discussion about how much expansion is too much expansion. How would we feel if we had troops on our border? These are things that should be allowed in an academic discussion. You should be able to sit on stage and should be able to debate these ideas without using ad hominem attacks.
You're using it in the reference, Candace, in the dialogue about October 7th. You're using your discussions of NATO as an analogy, in an analogous way.
I didn't hear her mention that, did you?
about how we should be able to discuss October 7th.
From a foreign
There is no analogy.
Okay. So you think that it is fair after listening to that, me talking about
Right.
NATO and me talking about Russia and Ukraine and saying that we should always be able to have an academic discussion about foreign policy, you think your statement still is fair, saying that she wanted to talk about the depravities of Hamas as an academic discussion?
Because you're using that context, and you're the one taking your own quotes out of context.
I played it. I didn't take it
Hillary Clinton, eat your heart out.
out of context. I just played it.
Then play the whole paragraph.
Just accuse her flat out of doing the things that you're doing, I would. I mean, works for ballers.
We're talking before the entire issue.
I did. So the first part was what I just showed you. That was actually a split clip. The first part.
You shouldn't have to do this really either, right? We heard it. But now she's having to break down the reality of what he just heard because he's denying it.
First half of that was when the one that we just showed you.
Tell her no. Tell her no, and it's your recontextualization of what she said. Tell her she's taking her own quotes out of context. Go on, I dare you. Do it
When
a
you
second
said
time.
that, I said it really wasn't that bad, and why should she even care? The first part I say I condemn Hamas, and then I said that I've been consistent in always saying that we should have a topic. We should be able to discuss foreign policy removed from ad hominem attacks because that is the truth and that's how I feel. But to be clear,
Candace?
I just broke out academic discussion because I was referring.
Candace,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you really simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
No. I want to keep going through this. I think it's important here.
It's about this. So I'm going to ask you a simple question. Do you ever mean to hurt people because of their race, religion, or color? Ever?
Do I ever mean to hurt people? Say that.
Because of their race, religion, or color? Ever?
I can't hear the last part of it. I don't know why.
Are you a racist?
I'm not hearing.
I'm sorry. We'll just apologize. We know about the technology. Do you ever intend to hurt or want to hurt anyone based on their race, religion, theology, color, etc.?
Seriously,
No.
Yeah, I know.
after what's just proceeded, that is baller tactics to the extreme.
Yeah, man.
Yeah? White knighting for yourself with just the most non sequitur. Yeah? Is the horizon, do you beat up, is the horizon Earth curve? I just need to ask you one question. Brian, do you assault old ladies?
No, I don't, Adam.
No. Well, let's just stay on that question instead of the horizon. Or in this, what is that?
Yeah. Well, what he's actually asking her is, he's trying to get around it in a way to asking her, can I just ask you a question? Did you stop beating your children? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how does she answer that? What? You know what I mean?
Do you have
like,
a gas chamber? Huh?
Yeah.
Do you? Have you got one? I know you've got a big estate, Candace, and do you actually have your own gas chamber?
And do you think it's right that someone could have their own gas chamber? This kind of stuff. It's like where he's going with this is like he's trying to make a distance from his obvious lies, and lack of concession. This is a pure lack of concession. Can I ask you a question? I wouldn't allow him to ask me anything. I would say, no, you don't get to ask me anything, buddy. You're going to admit. You know what I mean? There's no way I'd let that go. But look, she's doing her own thing.
Never, not once.
All right. What you need to hear is your statement. I'm not alone in this. Because it is in the whole context of October 7th.
Pause.
It's hurtful to Jews.
What you need to hear is, it's not just me telling you this. This thing is not defined yet. Yeah. Pleading again. Is that even appeal to authority? What is it? Consensus.
Yeah.
He's setting it up. You'll hear him come in a while with it.
Okay.
And I'd like to give you an analogy that I think that might really help our dialogue, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
A number of years ago, a movie came out called The Passion of the Christ. Did you see the movie?
Yes, it's a wonderful movie.
Okay. And I saw the movie as well. I saw it the opening day and saw it twice, and I arranged for a screening
Oh my
of
God.
priest students, minister students, rabbinic students, rabbis, ministers, and priests. Loyola Marymount when I was a professor. Okay. I realized something in watching that movie. There are two movies going on. If you accept Jesus as your savior,
No, right. So
then that movie.
There's not two movies. There's one movie, you mental git. I'm watching. You obviously got paranoid schizophrenia. You should be dismissed at this point. You're mental. You don't go and watch one film and there's two films running unless you're the mentalist.
Why are we talking about this movie?
It's total
Because
subterfuge.
we don't want to talk about why
Because the
she
Jews
is
are going to be portrayed a certain way in the movie.
No, take his bite. That's what he's trying to do. Eh? Have you seen that film by Mel Gibson, the well-known anti-Semite? Yes. Yeah. What did he just throw out there? That was the bone he just threw. Yeah. You know? Do you know the name of Goering's dog? That could be the next topic of conversation.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. His whole position is ridiculous. He's trying to wrangle it in a big circle back around to how she has hurt him and his people in some way. That's what he's trying to do, because he's been proven to be a complete and utter fraud.
Right, I'm going to round out at this point. So, fun though it was. So thank you to... Go on. Go, Brian, go.
No, it's saying yes. Yeah, just agree. Fine.
Yeah, it's like late here in the evening. It's like, what is it? 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say a massive thank you to today's, well, it's actually strictly speaking, the Ballbusters After Show panel for making this a live, impromptu discussion of anti-Semitism possible. Wonderful though it was. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!